Lios Enchim Anyavu. Greetings, everyone. May the Creator bless you all. And welcome to my podcast, the Good to E Medicine Podcast. I'll be your host, Pete Rodriguez.
All my native people stand up.
All right, guys, welcome to the second episode of the podcast, the Good to E Medicine Podcast. I want to keep these podcasts going on a regular basis, even though I'm super busy at times with a lot of different projects, work, and soon we're going to be flying out to Washington, D.C. for a conference. That's going to be exciting. And I think I'm going to do a podcast from Washington, D.C. So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be about, but it's going to be about health and wellness, of course. But today's topic is going to be hiking. A couple of adventures I did out in the wilderness, the Huya, Ania, the wilderness or desert world. I just did it this past Mother's Day. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that as part of encouraging people to get outdoors, stay healthy and active. You know, it's all part of it to encourage people and communities to get out there. So we're going to talk about on this podcast about events related to hiking, running events, doing some 5Ks and things like that in and around Tucson, and not only Tucson, but also all of Arizona. I completed 2 5Ks this past week, and that was my first time I've done that, so that was pretty cool. Did one for the missing, murdered women on a Sunday. That was pretty cool. A lot of people turned out for that one. Then I did another one here on the reservation here at the Yaqui Tribe for a family fun run. I almost did a third one within 1 week, but they charged, so it was like $30, and I'm not going to pay to do a 5K. Well, some people do, but I'm not going to pay, so anyways, it was pretty good. The times were about 34 minutes for each 5K, which is pretty good for me. But anyways, today I wanted to share a story about a hike, like I said, I did on Mother's Day, and also some safety tips. So stay tuned on those tips when you go out hiking, especially here in the desert, the wilderness world, the Huya Ania, the Sonoran Desert. It can be very dangerous. So the first tip when you go out hiking into the desert here is to bring plenty of water. Va'am, water. Hydration is the most important part of any hiking, whether you're out running or hiking out into the desert here in Arizona and Tucson. You have to hydrate. You have to hydrate before and after your hike. And during. You have to hydrate before, during, and after your hike or any type of activity that you're going to do outside, especially when the temps start getting hot and they start going up. So the temperature in the desert can be extreme, and even a short hike, like maybe an hour or even less, can be dangerous, especially if it's really hot outside. Let's say maybe 90 plus, 95, 100. It's just way too dangerous to be outside. You definitely need to hydrate. Water, va'am, is the most important thing I can recommend, and one thing that you should do. So water, va'am, is very important when you go out hiking or do activities out in the desert. I personally don't go hiking for too long if the temps are over 80, 85 degrees. I'll keep them under my hikes under maybe an hour or two, pushing it maybe for 3-hour hike or a little run here and there. So the best times to hike here in Tucson or the Sonoran Desert is really early in the morning before even the sun comes up, or even between the months of September and May are the best times to go out hiking or do any activities or running outdoors, especially here in the desert. So, like I said, hydrate, drink plenty of va'am the night before you do the activity. So drink up a lot of water the night before. And then on the day of, continue drinking water. So keep hydrated. So when you do get out to the hiking area where you're going to be at the trailhead, you'll be sufficiently hydrated and bring lots of water with you. So another tip is bring more water than you think you will need. Always bring a little bit extra. So you'll thank me later, believe me. So I always keep an extra gallon of water in my old truck. I always throw an extra gallon in there and take it with me when I go hiking. So I'll always have some water to refill my bottle. Or even if you have a buddy you're gonna go hiking with, you'll always have a little bit of extra water for them. So always keep an extra gallon of water in your vehicle. And the next quick tip is to bring a hat. Definitely. You're going to need a hat, especially to protect you from the sun. The sun can be brutal, and a hat is going to block out that heat and also the sun. So it's essential to bring a hat. It can be like a trucker hat. Those are really cool. That's what I used on this Sunday Mother's Day hike. I went to King Canyon to look at some petroglyphs, and I just had like a regular baseball trucker type hat, and it was really good to have. It's better than nothing. I really like those. And the trucker hats, they air in the back, so the air flows through there and keeps you cool. Or you can wear a big brim hat, but definitely bring some sort of hat when you go hiking, especially if it's a longer hike. And the next thing that I could recommend is definitely get some good pair of hiking shoes or boots. Get a good pair of hiking shoes or boots, especially if your hikes are more technical. There's more rocks involved, more climbing, more areas, that's a little bit more harder to execute, to go over or climb through them. And also for longer distances, you don't want to wear tennies or any type of just regular shoes. You don't want them. You need that extra grip. You need that extra comfort and support. So get some good pair of hiking shoes or boots. I prefer the shoes because they're a little bit, lighter. They're not so heavy. And I guess the last thing is trekking poles. Get you some good trekking poles. They help with balance. You use your upper body, as well with your feet for, let's see, forward movement for propulsion. It keeps you going. You can use your arms and your legs at the same time with these trekking poles, so it keeps you going further. You can hike easier, more comfort. You can carry stuff on your backpack a little bit easier because all of the weight is distributed to not just to your back, but also to your arms. And they keep you going. So I love using trekking poles. So get you a good pair of trekking poles if you can. They're a really good investment. So the trekking poles, check them out, try them out, and you'll love them. You'll never go back, especially if it's a hard climb and you have problems with your knee or your hip or your ankles. The trekking poles are really going to relieve some of that pressure. If you have some knee pain like I do, one of my knees is kind of messed up. And lastly, plan the hike by getting the map, or you can even download an app of the trail or the mountain or the desert where you're going to be at, and check out the location where you're going to be at beforehand before you go hiking out into the wilderness, and also tell someone where you're going to be at and what time you're going to be back, what time you're expected to return. So if you're going to go out for an hour hike or 2 hour hike and you don't return within the 2 hours, well, at least the person you let know, they'll start checking or calling, or at least they'll know, hey, so-and-so should have been home. So at least they can know and they can go out, check to see if you're okay, or send someone to go check, or let someone know, hey, so-and-so isn't home. We need to go find them. And lastly, while I was out walking in the wilderness world at Huya, Ania, it's a good practice to ask permission to enter the desert, the wilderness world at Huya, Ania, especially native tribes or us as native people. We respect the wilderness and all the creatures that live in the desert. including the little dangerous ones. We have a little story coming up about the what I encountered in the desert. Respecting all the creatures that live there, the snakes, the lizards, lions, and yes, there's bears out there too. Ask permission, to safely pass while visiting their wilderness. And also leave it just as you find it. So ask permission. I always do, silently. It doesn't have to be something extravagant and before you enter the wilderness. And also to be safe when you're trekking through the wilderness world. Back to my story. So I started out on Mother's Day on a hike because it had rained the night before a lot. So I knew the desert animals would be out. It would be a nice cool morning. It was going to be, overcast. It was perfect for hiking. Perfect. And like I said, there was going to be a cool air and all of the animals will be out, looking for food. So I knew it was going to be a great time to hike. Here's a little clip of me starting my hike, and I started over by Wash. I was in Kings Canyon Trail. It's in the Tucson Mountains, just west of Tucson. Here's a little clip of me starting in the Wash. There's a trail you can take in Kings Canyon Trail that goes above the, takes the regular trail, but then there's another part where you can go underneath the bottom and walk through the Wash, through the canyon, through the sand. That's where I was hiking. It just rained here in Tucson. Hiking through a wash. Beautiful day. It's cloudy, overcast. Going through King Canyon Trail. Actually, I'm down at the wash right now. Hiking through the sand, the dirt. I'm gonna go check out some petroglyphs. Maybe I'll put it on a podcast. There's some petroglyphs in this canyon. I believe they were made by the Hohokam tribes, maybe in the Anasazi. And I'll probably update it or talk about it on the next podcast. All right. See you guys soon. All right, so we're back, and I went Kings Canyon Trail. Like I said, it's just west of Tucson. It's a little bit north of the Sonoran Desert Museum if you want to go check out some really cool petroglyphs. It's a 2-mile out and back hike. So it's about 1 mile to the petroglyphs and 1 mile back. And there's some really nice petroglyphs left on the canyon walls by the Hohokam Tribe, the ancient tribe of the Hohokam. They date from, AD 300 to 1450. So there was indigenous native people to this land living here. So this is one of my favorite places to go hiking. And they left them there for others to see thousands of years into the future. Sometimes I wonder what they say, the petroglyphs. There's lots of geometric shapes. There's some circles. There's pictures of animals. I think there's a petroglyph like of a figure, like a little figurine. Different types of shapes. They're really, 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 really neat to go out there and see what these indigenous Hohokam native people were putting on these canyon walls in Kings Canyon. I don't know much about the actual petroglyphs, but I love being out there where the ancient tribes used to live, used to tell their stories on these walls. So it's a really good hike to go out there. It's not very long. It's only 2 miles out and back. So if you're ever in Tucson, I recommend going to Kings Canyon Trail just north of the Sonoran Desert Museum. It's a really cool hike, and I know you'll enjoy it. And if you go a little bit further, you can actually climb up to the peak, but that's a really, really tough hike. And we'll do some more podcasts on hiking, definitely, because that's one of my favorite activities to do. So as I hiked back down, met a couple of hikers. It's a busy trail. You'll see a lot of people out there hiking and taking pictures. And please do not disturb the petroglyphs, the rocks. Don't touch them. Definitely just, like I said, leave the wilderness world the way you found it and continue on your hike. So on the way back, this is where my story gets interesting. I ran into some deer, masos. You know, they were looking for food. I ran into some deer, and I also ran into another creature, a rattlesnake. I ventured off into another part of the canyon, which was not part of the trail, and I was looking for some other, deer or some more petroglyphs, and just looking for different things. And I ran into a nice little rattlesnake. It did warn me. I got really close, and they do give a warning. So I took a little audio. of the rattlesnake as I approached it, and here's the audio for you to listen to. Well, guess what I ran into my hiking adventures on Mother's Day. You can probably hear them in the background. I'm about 3.5 feet away from it. It's a small little rattlesnake. Almost stepped on the guy. Look at these guys have a warning system before you get too close. I'll get closer so you can hear it. Yep, he's saying don't get any closer. Alright, we'll leave this guy alone. And continue on my trail. So that's the rattlesnake's little warning telling me it was a small little rattlesnake. It was a western diamondback. And after all, it's just warning me not to be there. After all, this is their world. This is their territory. We're just, like I said, we ask permission to come here and guide us safely through their wilderness, through their world. And so just be careful when you're out hiking or running out in the desert. And you should be fine. Like I said, this is the second podcast, but I just wanted to get something out there and continue the podcast on a regular basis. So like I said, the third podcast will be coming up soon, and that's an interview. We will have a guest on the podcast, and this person is an expert in the health and wellness and fitness field, and he's going to speak to us about that. So that's coming up on the third podcast, and I'm excited to have him. It's going to be a surprise, and I'm really excited to have him on. So that's coming up. And also, like I said, I'm going to be in Washington, D.C., so I think I'm just going to do a impromptu podcast over there, probably in my hotel room, and maybe about the experience or something that's going on in Washington, D.C. And that's going to come up next week. So just to recap, just to be careful out, and definitely encourage everyone to get outdoors, do hiking and running and different activities outside, but definitely be careful. Ask for permission to enter the wilderness world, the Huya, Ania, and also to be safe out there, and definitely drink lots of water, bring some good shoes, plan ahead, definitely, and don't go out when it's too hot. Definitely don't hike. If you do, just go early in the morning and be safe. And make sure you tell people where you're at and what time you'll come back. And you should have lots of fun. And if you guys like this podcast, maybe this type of where I add in a little bit of audio of where I went or the things I can hear, let me know. And then maybe I can do some more like this when I'm out and about doing things. I like to chase storms too, and do a lot of pictures of lightning. I like to go chase storms here on the reservation. It's really cool here in Tucson to chase storms, so maybe I can do some of those too. Some more outdoor activities. Definitely gonna do some more 5Ks. Maybe I'll do some podcasts on those. Definitely gonna have some more cooking events coming up, and I'm gonna share those here on this podcast, and maybe some recipes as well. And like I said, definitely gonna have some more interviews, some really special guests coming up, so stay tuned. Definitely. And still, it's a work in progress, guys, so be patient with the audio, the recording, and different things like that. I'm still kind of tweaking little things here and there, but hopefully you'll enjoy the podcast, and happy hiking, and make it a great day. Choku utesia.